I was only ever just a plumber. I was never a manager, so I'd never had any experience managing people or how to go about things and stuff like that. I only sort of would manage the blokes that I had on site.
Hi everyone, Rob Crop and Dan Stones here from Pravar Group, and welcome back to another episode of the Trade Dan. Good to have you back, Dan. How are you?
Hey Rob, good to be back. Yeah, very well, thank you. Looking forward to another great client story. Ripper today too. Love this guy.
Yeah, we got Jack Whiting from Flow Right Plumbing. Big warm welcome to you, Jack. How are you?
Going well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure, mate. Good to see you. I remember way back when, I can't remember how many years it was now, probably nearly 3-4 years ago, you coming on board and doing onboarding. So to have you now on the podcast, it's like a full circle moment if there's ever been one.
Definitely, yeah. It's been a long road, but a good one.
Excellent. Really looking forward to getting into the story today. There's plenty there. There's plenty of things that you've been through throughout your coaching journey, but we're going to start probably going back a little bit to even before then. And as usual, we'll start to get to know you a little bit and just get a bit of background from you and where are you based and have you always lived there probably is the starting point for the whole conversation.
Yeah, based in Lara, just outside of Geelong in Victoria. Grew up here and yeah, pretty much spent my whole life here, and we're based our business here as well. So
very good. All right, and school obviously was there as well.
Yep, went to school there as well. For when I went, I suppose.
We might touch on that later on. We'll see. We try not to go there too much. It's too much of a story for us to relive those traumas for Rob and I as well. Tell us, mate, about family growing up. We'll start with growing up. We'll move into your current family that you've got now. But growing up, family, mum, dad, brothers, sisters, what did everyone do?
So dad had a small roof tiling company. It was generally just him and another bloke and an apprentice. Sort of kept at that, did that for 20 odd years, and then went and worked at a construction company. He's been there ever since. Mum's always worked really hard. I feel that I got brought up with a good work ethic from them too. And then I've got an older sister and a younger brother. Sister's a nurse, and my brother actually works with me within the business.
Excellent. And were you a young fella climbing all over roofs and stuff back in the day?
Yeah, I used to go and help dad after school. Go and give him a hand doing bits and pieces. And on Saturdays, there was always something going on.
Oh, awesome. I love it. That's really cool. What about now these days? Let's bring it to current state of family. We'll get into the birth of the business soon, but I know you've just welcomed your second child. Tell us a little bit about the family now.
Yep. So it's me, my wife, Danny, and son Tex, and the latest addition is little Tilly. So she's 9 weeks old now. So yeah, she's going well, and Tex is nearly 3. So yeah, there's heaps going on in our world.
Yeah, for sure. I can't believe Tex is nearly 3, and Tilly just being born. How's the sleep going?
Pretty good actually, touch wood, because she's a pretty chilled out baby. We had it rough first time around, but this time around she's going good. But like I said, I don't want to jinx myself.
No, you don't want to do that at all. That's good. You look well rested.
Yeah, you're in the hurt locker at the moment though. Only 9 weeks in. It's you're in the hard part.
Yeah, exactly right. So she's a really, really cruisy baby.
Nice. And Danielle, your wife, Danny or Dan, as we'll hear over the course of the episode, works in the business with you at the moment?
Yeah, currently she's on maternity leave, but she still has her input, which is good. So that was it's been really good. She's a really good help, and it's great to have someone in the business with as much interest in it as yourself, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. No, we'll definitely touch on that. So important for everyone listening that Danny and Dan, don't get them confused. I'm not married to Jack. His wife is Danielle, and she does work in his business. So that'll be good. Let's talk about what you did before you got into business. Obviously, you said when you went to school. Were you working jobs as a kid growing up? What were you like as a kid?
Yeah, pretty much as soon as I was old enough to get a job, I went and got a job because I was good at doing things with my hands, and just not as good at being at school. So every opportunity I got to go to work rather than go to school, I would take that opportunity, and it sort of just got to a point where I enjoyed going to work a lot more than I went going to school. So I found an apprenticeship. That was the deal that I had to make with my parents. They said if you're going to leave school, you got to have an apprenticeship. So I fell into a plumbing apprenticeship and haven't looked back since.
Nice. Was plumbing something that interested you, or was it just what you sort of that was the opportunity? That's what you went to.
Trades, like it was definitely always going to be a trade. Trades in general, but I feel with the plumbing, I did a bit of research around different trades. Dad told me I wasn't allowed to be a roof tiler, so that ruled that one out. And then plumbing was just I found there was a really good variety of everything. Like with plumbing, you can be in the ground, you can be doing a fit off, you can be doing a rough in. You're always doing something different, which is an aspect I really liked it back then and still do now.
Nice. What was your experience of apprenticeship? Was it a happy apprenticeship? Was it a brutal apprenticeship? How would you characterize it?
I definitely enjoyed my apprenticeship. I enjoyed the place that I worked. I ended up staying there for 6 years. So yeah, I learned a good variety of skills at that workplace, and it was one of them ones where they like to throw you in the deep end a bit early, and sink or swim sort of thing. So that was the sort of situation that I found myself to thrive in. So I did enjoy my apprenticeship for sure.
Awesome. So 6 years in, obviously you stayed there for six, and then it was into. I'm assuming it was into Flow Right. How did Flow Right come about? What was the story there?
There was a few years in between. So I went and subbed to a few different companies. Went and worked on wages for a few different companies. Different variety, different experiences, different sectors of plumbing, I suppose. And then I started subcontracting, and then I found myself in a predicament where I needed someone to drive me around for 6 months. So I put an apprentice on after sitting on my plumbing exams. So yeah, it was sort of a pushed decision to start Flow Right, but as I said, I haven't really looked back since. So it was a good one.
Nice. I'm not going to delve into a predicament. I think that's fine there. I'm happy to keep moving on if you are, Rob.
I think so. And do you think, obviously growing up with your dad running his own business, do you think it was inevitable you were going to start your own business anyway at some stage?
Yeah, and like also my grandfather on dad's side as well. He ran his own panel beating business as well for as long as I could remember as well. So yeah, I feel like business has always been in the family. It's just one of those things that I suppose it was just going to happen eventually.
Nice. Nice. In those early years, was it just you starting out with the apprentice? Were you with Dan then, or how were you? What was the scene back in day one?
Yeah, so Dan was a office manager for another company, and then it was me and Jordan, my first apprentice. He and yeah, so we would just go to work all day, and then Dan would come home and she'd give me a hand to do all the books, and from then we sort of just progressed, and then as we got more staff, Dan then dropped back from that full time job to a part time job, and then worked part time in our business, and then part time in another business, and then just gradually sort of until she was full time with us.
Yeah, sometimes we see it in coaching where some guys bring their wives or their partners in out of necessity. Other times because they work really well together. But in your case, you guys you make a really good team, don't you?
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. It hasn't been an easy road. There's no doubt about that. There's some difficulties, being in the business with your wife because it's very hard to separate the business and the personal life. But all in all, we do make a good team.
It's a big one, isn't it, Dan? Where sometimes some clients they make it work, and it works really well, and they become an unstoppable team. Other times, the partner gets involved in the business, and sometimes it can create more fractures in the relationship. So it's really a case by case example if it works or doesn't work, doesn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think having that real clear definition of roles, like you and Dan obviously had that. She looked after the office stuff, the admin, you're on the tool. So it made it really easy. I think the challenge comes as it goes over time. We're going to talk about your journey into management and really stepping up as an owner of the business. That redefinition of your role probably then meant that everything had to shuffle again. So I'll be keen to talk about as we get into this a bit later on how that shuffled and what the dynamic did just in a purely professional sort of way for you and Dan sort of not tripping over each other in the office and what happened. But I think it is definitely horses for courses and it changes over time. It has a dynamic relationship as you go. Jack, what was those early days, what did a good week look like then? And I say that because I like to ask that question. Like for you, back then, you're starting out, things were good. What would you have classed as being a good week in those early years?
A good week would would have been, well, when we very first started, we were doing, we were still subcontracting to the bloke I was subcontracting to when I started Flow Right. So we were subcontracting to him, 2 or 3 days a week, and then filling the rest of the time. So they were big days, like, we'd work all day for him and then go and do a few hours of my own jobs after hours. So there was a few weeks like that, just doing hot water services and blockages and just a lot of residential maintenance. So that was it was a good week for us where we just were, we were busy. So that's what a good week looked like for us.
Nice. People playing along at home. There's that word busy. A good week was when you were busy. I'm not going to grill you on that, but it's just, I heard it. Don't worry. All right. What were some of the challenges? Those early years of challenges, what were things that you were rubbing up against that sort of were a bit of a challenge for you?
One of our big challenges was cash flow. Starting from basically nothing, building up, and then the type of work that we were doing, we were quite often having issues with payments and people late payers and people just not paying altogether. And then also once we started to get into the builder space, because I started so young. I started when I was 15. I was qualified by the time I was 20. I was running my business by the time I was 23 or 24. Then it was very hard to have people take you seriously. Being a young person in the trade, they think they could sort of pull the wool over your eyes. So there was a bit of that going on. But yeah, I suppose as we grew, we sort of worked our way around that. Picked more clientele that suited us and not so much what we had to do rather than what we wanted to do.
How did you deal with that? That being the young kid, the new kid, everything sort of stacked against you in terms of coming up to the establishment, if you like, the guys that were already in place and well entrenched in the industry, even the clients and builders who they wanted to work for. How did you deal with that, and how did it make you feel in those early years?
Well, it wasn't a new thing for me to deal with because I felt that I'd always dealt with that through my apprenticeship, being so young when I started. Especially when I started, once I finished my apprenticeship and left my original employer, I found it hard to get people to take me seriously on site because they would just look at you like, oh, you're just a young kid, like where a lot of them, you'd been plumbing longer than them, and it was hard to get them to take you seriously. So it was like I said, it wasn't a new thing, but it was more just, showing them, just get in there and showing them what you can do. And once they sort of see, what you're about and what your capabilities and what sort of business you run, they sort of start to, take that on board and yeah.
So did you go down the path? Because probably I can think of two ways most people would deal with that. They'd try and be mates with everyone and sort of try and be friendly with everyone. And I'm a mate, I'm one of the boys. Or was it a professional sort of capability? I'll show you because I'll be the best guy on site or the hardest worker. What sort of, out of those sort of three avenues, was there one that stood out for you?
Our biggest thing was just we always did what we said we were going to do. So like, no matter what it took, like we would be working late. If there was deadlines, it would be nothing for us to work till 7 or 8 o'clock just to get something done so they could keep the job going to sort of, just to show them that you're serious about what you do. But then again, like, a lot of mature companies probably would have pushed back and said, no, well, we're not ready. You can't go to the next stage without us being ready anyway. So yeah, it's a bit of a catch-22 there, but we went down that route of just, doing what we could and just showing them what we're about really.
So quality and service delivery as opposed to just being in the clique or with just being one of the boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like, Jack, that you had that approach where you were just muscling your way through it, and it was your ability just to get in, get on with the job and show what you were capable of. But no doubt it sounds like that's what was causing the big long days that you were talking a bit about before.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely led to us just getting in, getting it done, no matter what it took, and if that meant long days or weekends or whatever, we would just do it, get it done.
Yeah, nice. I like it. What and obviously it's one of those things, and you'll see now how this plays out as we go through your story. That element of those early days plays on. What else did you learn about yourself in the early days of running a business and being an owner? Was there things that you knew, your shortcomings that you wanted to try and avoid having to tap into? Was there strengths that you uncovered? What were sort of those early lessons that you took out of running your own business?
I feel that I sort of found out pretty early that I was pretty dedicated and, that I was going to do whatever it took to sort of to get, keep going. I wasn't going to pull the pin, that's for sure. But yeah, definitely my strengths were on site, so it was really just getting in, getting it done, and just getting it sorted, I think.
All right, so all about getting from one job to the next job as cleanly, as quickly, as quality as you could, but it was all about being on site.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How did the team grow over that time? How quick did you start to put guys on, or when did you start to build a team that led to probably becoming or raising that thing where you had to start to put leadership and management at the forefront of what you were doing?
Well, after I got my privileges to drive back, I'd already got a second ute in that time. So I basically, as soon as I got that back, Jordan and I basically just got in a ute each, and it wasn't every day, but I'd send him out to do bits and pieces he could just to try and multiply where we're at. And then not long after that, we sort of landed our first bigger job, and then that was when the team started to grow. So yeah, that was from then on, really.
Nice. And what sort of management style was going on at this stage? What sort of leader were you? What sort of management did you bring to the table in that sense?
There wasn't a whole lot of style. It was just get in, get it done. Be the hardest worker. Just lead by example. Just hardest, fastest, quickest. Most profitable plumber I could be. But that didn't always work out to be the best.
So more of this is what got us to this point. We're just going to keep doing more of it, better of it, with more of us.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Fair enough. Nice. And how did that work out for you in those early days, or that period?
Well, yeah, it just goes back to the long days, really. The long days and the weekends and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was a challenge because it wasn't really a great management style. It was just work the hardest.
How was it holding you back? I mean, how far before we go on? How far were we before you got into Pravar at this point of the journey?
I hadn't found Pravar yet when I was at this point. So yeah, I was just basically working on the tools during the day and then doing what I could at night, and with Dan helping out where she could as well.
Okay. So what started to happen as you kept going on this path? Obviously, you're successful. This is what happens for a lot of guys. I remember having this conversation earlier in the week. Things are going well. We're doing great. There's more work showing up for us to be able to do. We work hard, therefore we'll just work harder. Did that start to turn a corner at some point? Can you remember where that started to get out of balance?
Yeah, it got to a point where, like at the start, I could be across all of our sites where we had guys. And it got to a point where I couldn't be everywhere all the time. I couldn't drop into sites and check up on how things are going myself. So it come to a point where, there were things getting missed, mistakes getting made, jobs not getting done the way I would have liked them done. And it's all sort of started to go, not unravel, but it just, the cracks started to appear. Things where I'm going, I really don't like that. I need to work out a way to try and fix this and get on top of it. And I had no idea on how to do that. So yeah, I think that's sort of where I sort of come across Pravar.
Right. So how were you dealing with it at the time? I mean, the dissatisfaction of a job running overtime or not being done correctly or going back to site for something that needed to be fixed. What was your default approach at that time?
Well, at that point in time, we weren't. My biggest goal was to just get the job done on time and deliver a good quality product. There was no reviewing on how profitable the job was. It was just at all costs, get the job done and get on to the next one, really.
Were you going through team at that time? Were you having difficult conversations about lifting standards, or was that all just get your asses back to site and fix it?
We didn't have a massive turnover, but yeah, it was very hard because we just kept getting, repetitive sort of things because we didn't have any procedure or anything like that in place around what we do on site, basically, when I'm not there.
At this point, how many guys did you have on and with you, and what was the rough size of the business?
We had probably 5 guys, I'd say, at this point. And yeah, we just sort of picked up a first big job. And that first big job was quite good because it was a nursing home, and so it was all sort of in the one area. So I found that a lot easier because I could keep tabs on it rather than have 6 or 7 little jobs around where I couldn't. I could be there, and I'd just sometimes take like a portable table to work and set up my laptop just in one of the rooms and do my work there, and while I could just go around the site and check on the boys how they're going, and that's where I found that a good opportunity to do the bit bigger jobs where I could keep an eye on them.
It's interesting you say that, Jack, because this is a point in business that we see so many trades businesses just get stuck at. They've got 4 to 6 guys on the ground. They're feeling like they're too big to be small, too small to be big. They're at that point where they're doing probably around that $1 million mark roughly, and all of a sudden they are starting to win all this more and more work, and they can't replicate themselves, so their hours get longer. Admin work gets done at night time because they're sucked into getting jobs in on site all day. It's interesting you say that, because it's a real sticking point, and this is a point where things really have to change at this point. What got you here is, and the way that you run the business to what got you here isn't what gets you to the next level. So it's really interesting that this is where you really started to see the edges really fracture and fray, and the problem starting to appear.
Is this where, Jack, let's just test it, right? What was the rough turnover around this time from what Rob's just described? How close was he to the mark?
Yeah, it was pretty much spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, so around the $1 million mark, 4 to 6 guys. What structurally then, we talk about wearing all the hats. How many hats do you think you were wearing, and sort of what roles would you say you were playing in the business at this time as it sort of started to expand?
Pretty much all of them, other than the admin. So, project manager, plumber, admin, a little bit of admin, like taking phone calls. I was taking heaps of phone calls. I was tendering more work to keep going. Just trying to squeeze that all into a day was just, it's very frustrating.
And we've talked about the turnover revenue position. It's growing, but I'm willing to make a bet here, but I'll ask you the question anyway. How was profit following on this path, or were you already noticing the fact that there was probably some challenges around actually making money out of all this activity?
Yeah, exactly. It was quite frustrating because we were doing all of this work, and we were like, well, there's not much to show for it here. Like, we were making more money smaller, so it was like, this is not all it's cracked up to be.
Hence, this is the fork in the road moment where a lot of business owners find themselves going, do I punch ahead and get this right, or do I go back and me and an apprentice or a couple of other guys, where your dad found himself, him and someone else, an apprentice, a team of 3 doing roofing for a long time. And obviously you're at that fork in the road moment going, what do we do here? Something has to change. I'm going to shrink or grow and muscle my way through this even further.
Yeah, 100%.
It's interesting as well, and this is why I made that point before, a little bit of a smartass. But that idea of a good week was when you were busy. You're busier than ever now, but these weeks aren't feeling so good anymore.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I was the busiest I've ever been.
Absolutely. So fast forward a little bit from there. Obviously, the situation doesn't improve by itself. It never really does. You're determined to keep going on this journey. You're not going to roll back, as Rob alluded to just a second ago. You hit Pravar, you get on board with us. It becomes pretty apparent pretty soon that there's this concept called management that you have to learn. And when that started to get lined out to you and how you're going to make some of these changes to the number of hats you were wearing and managing the business rather than running the business, every part of it, how did that feel, and sort of what came up for you in that early phase of the journey?
It was confronting. Like, it was one of those things, like, I knew it was coming, but it was like, yeah, I don't really know, and that wasn't my comfort zone. My comfort zone was on site, not being in the office. So yeah, there was a little bit of pushback there, but I got to the point where I knew that I had to do something. Otherwise, I wasn't going to be able to keep going the way I was going. That's for sure.
Was it just about being off? Let's call it off the tools. I know you weren't, but was it about that and just getting into the office for you, or was there more going on at the time?
I think it was the unknown. Like, it was just something I didn't know much about, that I wasn't confident in doing myself. Like I said, my comfort zone is on site putting pipe in the ground. So, I sort of just always defaulted back to that. because that's where I was most comfortable, even though it wasn't where my time was best spent. So yeah, that was definitely a challenging time.
Was there a sense of, and I might be leading you here, but was there a sense of then having to give up something you were good at to go into something where you knew it wasn't going to be as good, or you hadn't been as good as that in the past? Was there that sort of sense of an identity shift and giving up something that you'd always been around since you were 15? How hard was that to actually come to grips with that, or in Pravar terms, face the facts on that?
Yeah, it was one of the biggest things, and not going to lie, I still struggle with it today. Like, I still find myself every now and then falling back into just plumber mentality, being a plumber, because that's what I know. That's what I've known for most of my adult life. So, changing that mindset was an absolute mission.
What was your steps in your way of doing it? We're not going to coach you through it, but in your way of what you did, the levers you pulled to make that, what were some of the things that stick out in your mind to try and make that change stick?
A few small things. Like, it took a while to get the rhythm going of being in the office, but like one of the biggest levers that I pulled was I had actually when it was time to upgrade my ute, I didn't get a ute with toolboxes on it next time, so that physically just forced me off the tools. I had a little toolbox, and that was it. If I couldn't possibly load up for a day's work like I used to, so that was, and it did challenge me, because there was a lot of the times where I was like, I need a ute with toolbox because I need to be able to go out and do this, but I just couldn't. So that really forced me to delegate that stuff to the boys that are on site already and focus on what I needed to focus on in the office.
Great. And when you started delegating stuff back, or to the guys on site, the ones that were being paid to be on site, did you get any pushback from the guys? Did you notice anything in terms of that stuff that you had to deal with as well, like the usual, what they'd call banter? I won't call it that, but
yeah, no, look, there's plenty of banter. There's still plenty of banter. But yeah, it was one of those things where, once I sort of explained what we were doing, where we were going, and what the thought process was behind it all, they soon were on board, and now there's two of them that are actually going through it themselves, which used to throw a fair bit of banter my way, and they're getting off the tools and getting in the office themselves at the moment. So it's good to see it flow through.
Did you have guilt around that? I know a lot of guys we coach, Rob, it's a big one, right? Let go of the guilt when you make that shift or start to make that shift. I should be there. I'm meant to be there. That sort of feeling. Did you have that, Jack?
Yeah, 100%. And I found a way that I used to cope with it was, like, even if they were doing big days, I would do bigger days. So I'd be in the office, and then I'd go and get in the truck for a couple of hours of a night and run stuff around. And I feel that was my way of just still feeling like that I'm doing more to justify not being on site.
This is a really interesting time, and I'm glad you're sharing this honestly, Jack. Thank you, because the guilt that's associated with it, the shift to being the gun, right? Ever since you were 15, you've been able to prove yourself as being worthy of whatever you got, and whatever you took out of your business was because of what you were producing on site. The ability to overcome the guilt, do all that sort of stuff, it's not a small step, and it's a lot of work to be done. It's a big wrestle, and you've got to wrestle with it. And I think for you, starting to become accountable for numbers and starting to think profitably, and we call it leverage. This is why we've got a whole program based on moving yourself from being the doer to the manager. It's a huge journey to go on. And I think for you, there's two things that I can remember. There's a photo of you sitting at your computer, and I know you would have been hating that at the time. I can remember that photo. It's locked into my head from, I think, a Monday morning momentum you posted once. And then there was this idea about dropping the high vis. Do you want to talk to us about this experience of dropping high vis, what that meant to you, how it came about? Rob, jump in if you need to, because I know you were very much at the forefront of some of those conversations. But what did that mean, and how big was that for you at the time?
Yeah, I remember rolling up to a group call and Rob calling me out, because I roll up every week in my high vis, and yeah, that I wasn't dressing like like a business owner. I was still dressing like a plumber on site. So yeah, he banned all high vis for a while. Like from then on. So I went out and got some nice shirts made up, and just having that visual that look different to everyone else on site. Just it forces that mindset shift that that I'm not the plumber, I'm a business owner now, and I've got to act like a business owner. So if that means dressing like a business owner, then that's what I've got to do. And I feel that was a big pivotal moment, just like when I unloaded all my tools out of that ute and wasn't able to put them in another ute. It was just a pivotal moment where it was like, all right, this is what we're doing and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear, Rob, what your take is on this, because these seem like small incidental things and can come across as gimmicky, but they're anything but that, right?
Correct. I was just about to say that Jack's explained them saying I've done small things along the way, but they're big strides forward to change your personal identity around who you are and how you show up. Taking the tools out of the truck, getting out of the high vis, unless you wear high vis on site where you need to. It's the ability to not see yourself as one of the mates on site, but see yourself as a manager of the boys on the site. It's these subtle changes along the way which helps you turn the corner from being a great tradesman to starting to become a great business owner of a trades business. Slight distinction, huge difference between the two. And you're right, Dan, it takes time. It's a transition off the tools from 5 days on the tools to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1. And so transitionally, you've got to wind yourself off as you grow your business and bring more people into your team. So there's that whole transition phase that has to happen strategically to make that work, to warrant you being off site without destroying your cash flow. But there's this whole mindset shift that has to happen behind the scenes for the owner to be able to allow it to happen as well. So there's all this change going on at the same time. And if you can go through this and navigate the path forward, that's what sets you free from being the tradesman to start being a business owner. It's a huge moment. It's a hard time to work through mentally, but it's a huge moment that sets you on the path to be able to build that lifestyle business that a lot of guys want.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's almost like you're going on your second apprenticeship at this, right? It's like, I've never done it before. I'm going to learn. I'm going to do what I can to get through it. One of the big elements I see as well, Rob, these, let's call it little steps that we're talking about, but giant strides, is humility, and the role of that the humility to suck, as we call it. Like, you're never going to nail it first time. No one does. If you did, you wouldn't be with us. For starters, we'd probably never be talking. But Jack, for you, did humility come into it? Did you have to sort of suck it up at some point, or was there a point at which that you had to have the humility to suck?
Yeah, definitely, and I still do, because there's definitely areas for improvement, in the office, in my, day to day as well. But yeah, it was being able to go in and be uncomfortable with where I'm at, with what I'm doing, and sort of getting used to that and learning again, learning that different role, and not just automatically falling back into what I knew and what I've known for so long. And that was a big step.
Yeah, nice. And how much was, you're in coaching as you do this, obviously. How much did coaching help? And when I say coaching, I mean the community that you were in, having the guys around you. How important do you think it was to be able to lean on the group, if you like, to make that transition a little bit easier, if you like?
Yeah, I feel, having the group all together, like with anything that you want to achieve, I feel gives you probably 5-10 times more chance of actually getting something done that you want to do, because the group's around you, they know what you want to achieve, and they give you a nudge in the right direction when you need to be, and really just make sure we do it around the group. Everyone does it for each other, so it's just that accountability that you get from your mates in the group that really helps push you in the right direction.
I know that you've also got a good friend of yours in the local area, Aaron from AFM Roofing. How much did he play a big part in your journey as well, for someone to look up to be able to help you develop your management and your leadership skills as well, over and above the community? Because he was part of the mastermind then at the same time.
Yeah, 100%. If it wasn't for Aaron, he was the one that sort of got me in contact with you guys as well. But just in general, seeing what he's been able to achieve in his business over the years, and I've seen it from from where he started to where he's grown it to and what he's been able to achieve and all that sort of stuff. It just gives you a bit of a perspective and show you that you can do it. Like if Aaron was able to achieve it, same sort of bloke, from a smaller town that is just having a crack and has been able to achieve what he has. There's no reason that I can't do it as well. And just having that there to bounce ideas off as well is really, really helpful.
Because before you got into coaching, what management experience did you have? Apart, obviously, when you had that circumstance of you had to put your apprentice on. Apart from that, as your first hire, what other experience did you have in leading teams and crews and managing people and performance and everything? What experience did you have getting into before you got into business?
None at all. Like, and even like the businesses that I'd worked in previously, like I was only ever just a plumber. I was never a manager, so I'd never had any experience managing people or how to go about things and stuff like that. I only sort of would manage the blokes that I had on site, and that's management to an extent. But at a higher level, I'd never had any sort of experience or even worked within a company that had like good management, really good management structure to sort of learn off either.
Yeah, for sure. And we see this a lot with business owners that they don't enjoy school because they're good physically with their hands, and hence why they get into a trade. Like they don't love school, and so they get into the trade. Naturally, the trade and doing things with your hands, your comfort zone. And for a lot of guys, they go through their trade and they don't have the experience managing people, and then all of a sudden their team grows and they're forced into this whole management position. And that's what Dan's alluding to here at the moment, is you're embracing your management apprenticeship. That's why it's important that you be patient. You go on that journey to learn the skills and have conversations where you suck at it and you learn from those to be better at it. That's why this whole apprenticeship of management has to begin at this point. And that's why it is an apprenticeship, because for most people, they've never had the experience of managing other people in delegation, holding people accountable, managing poor performance, hiring and firing, dismissing people. This whole management situation of a business, you've never done it before. And that's why a lot of people shy away from it or never put themselves in that position. And then they wonder why they get stuck in business. So Jack, for you, is you'd never been there before, and hence why it felt really foreign and uncomfortable, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Given that changes then, and as this progresses, you develop as a leader, as a manager, and you've done a huge amount of that over the last few years. You've also held your team together really well. Like you haven't left anyone behind. And I'm keen to hear, how have you made sure of that? What did you do consciously in your style that you've now developed? You've gone from not having a style, as you said before, into you've definitely got one. We can help you out if you need it. But in terms of that style and not making sure that no one's left behind, what did you think you did, or what were some of the shifts you made to yourself along that way? Maybe start out, obviously your office crew, which is Danny, as we said. How did you have to change and interact differently when you were in the office? And then how did that spill out to the boys in a leadership sense?
I feel that, it was definitely one of those things where it was just about, I don't know, I found that aligning the goals and letting everyone know what we're doing, where we're going, and giving them some sort of direction of where we were heading, what was going on in my head with the direction of what I wanted to achieve. And really making sure that that everyone sort of understood that, and not just me in my own head, just head down, bum up. This is what I'm going to get done, and just follow me and trust me, sort of thing. It was more just look, this is where I want to be, in 6 months' time or 12 months' time, whatever. And also in that as well, talking to the employees about what they want to achieve and trying to align those goals with what we're doing. And I feel if we're working together, we're not obviously working towards the same goal, but we're working towards a goal. The motivation levels are a lot higher than without that, I suppose.
Did you notice your guys respond differently or react differently to you as a result of you making those changes?
I don't know if there's a point where we went, right, this is how we're doing it. I think it was a gradual shift. So I don't know if there's a big shift in the way they responded as such, because I feel like it's probably something not like I always sort of did. I feel.
So they've just naturally followed you as you've expanded on your vision. They're followers to your lead.
Yeah, exactly right. And obviously just telling them, just sharing with them, what I want to achieve, and goals, no matter how big or small they are, like just putting them out there and saying, right, this is what we want to get to, and we need to work together, and it seems to have a pretty good effect, I suppose, on everyone.
Yeah, honesty and being vulnerable enough to share your goals is a big thing, and for leaders, the ability to do that is huge. So it may not have always come naturally, but unlocking that, whether you fell into it, did it or not, you've unlocked a really big element of what it takes to be a good leader, having that confidence in yourself, that vulnerability to be able to share things, and trust grows as a result of that. So it's a big step that you've uncovered there. If you haven't realized it, you should, and you should celebrate that fact, because that's going to serve you so well in the future as you keep going. So, Jack, the last little piece of the evolving nature, we're sort of coming up to more current time, if you like, is on the home front. I'm really keen for you to share, if you would, just how it's evolved with obviously Tex coming on the scene, Danny being so integral to the business. How did you navigate that? What challenges came up, and how's all that playing out at the moment, even with Tilly on the scene now 9 weeks in?
First time round, probably wasn't the greatest way going around it, but I've got a photo of Dan in the office with a week-old baby, sitting in front of the computer getting stuff done. So not having enough sort of structure around her to be able to give her the maternity leave that she deserved was very challenging. But this time around, we've been able to set a goal, and now she's like I said, Tilly's 9 weeks old, so she's going really well, and Dan really sort of only drops into the business when she feels that she wants to. So she doesn't have to be here; she chooses to be here, and she will do that for the next couple of months as well. So being able to just early on go, okay, this was her thing that she always wanted, to have a proper maternity leave. So being able to set that goal and then put things in place around our admin to be able to give her that has been really, really good. It's a really nice thing to be able to achieve.
I love that. The contrast there that I love, I'll share, as you were talking, that I was thinking about it. You've gone from just work harder mentality. If you talk about like Tex, that moment in time was like, we'll just get it done. We'll keep working harder. We'll push through and muscle through, into now there's a leadership element with Tilly and this birth coming along. This is now you being planned, strategic, leading from the front, well organized, not working harder, but working smarter, leading instead of having to do. Can you see that? Like, I don't know. Am I just making that up, or what do you guys think?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Look, it's definitely not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than what it was the first time around. So pretty proud of being able to do that, and I feel that Dan's, she's worked pretty hard to actually achieve that herself as well. But it's a bit of a team effort, but she definitely led it for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. It really is so good. Let's talk in the business terms now. Bring us up to speed. We sort of started off with a really clear picture. Where's the business at now? Number of guys, turnover, if you want to share it, the types of jobs you're doing. What's going on in the business today?
So now we're just implementing a new structure this first quarter. Once again, offloading some hats on myself. So bringing one of the boys up into a junior estimator role, other one up into a project manager role, and then we've got 2 admin staff, as well as Danielle, and then we've got 10 boys on the ground. So the structure in the business now is really good. We're about to move into our own business premises, so really looking forward to being able to settle down there and really start to set up things the way we want to do it, which would be really, really good.
Great. I love it. That's so cool. It's a big jump, mate. I mean, we've gone through a whirlwind of a management career budding and growing it to where you are today. So I think, Rob, from mine, it's a really good example of it's still work in progress, but Jack's journey as a leader and manager is pretty much the steps that we take people on to do this. But the way he's done it's been so good.
Yeah, it's been a journey, and it always is a journey. It's not something you can rush. You've got to really take the time, because you've got to allow the time not only for the strategy to unfold in terms of growing the business. Because I remember all those times where you had to find new builders to work for and change the different style of work you were doing, and even doing work up at Mount Hotham. You no longer did that because it wasn't conducive for you traveling away when you had a young family. It was all those changes that you made, and to be able to get the work and the style and build out your team. All that stuff just takes time, but it's the personal journey behind the scenes that it's even the harder journey and the longer journey. That's the hard part, isn't it, Jack?
Yeah, 100%. And it's just one of those things where you build it and you break it and you try again. And I feel that's what we've been doing, and yeah, just keep going, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a great mentality you've got towards growth, that's for sure. Recently you joined, we have in Pravar, we have our lifestyle group. We also have a leadership group that's part of that. And you joined that recently, Jack. As we finish this episode and this story off, just talk to us a little bit about what that sort of means to you. I know it means a lot, but what did it mean to you to do that? What came up for you when that happened, and how are you enjoying it so far?
To be honest, I was a bit shocked when Rob called me and said, we need a new person in the leadership group. Are you interested? And I thought he was pulling me leg to start with, but just because of the caliber of blokes that are in there is really good. But yeah, just having that to be asked to be in there to start with was really, really good. And because I hadn't really been in the mastermind group as long as I sort of thought I would be before I went into the leadership group, sort of thing. So that was a bit of a shock, but nonetheless, it was really good. And a recent visioneering weekend when we got to stay back with the launch guys, just spend a bit of time with all those guys that are just doing so well, and also a look back to where we were not that long ago as well, and to see where these guys are, and how quick they're going to come along into the mastermind groups. Pretty exciting to see the caliber of people that we have in this community.
I love it. Rob knew all along, didn't you, Rob?
What's that?
To bring Jack into the leadership group, shake it up a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw Jack's come into launch, and we knew that he was destined for great things early on in his coaching journey. And he just did a cracking job in launch, did what he needed to get done, transition into leverage and then onto lifestyle. And we just knew all along that he was just going to eventually be told that he was going to be part of the leadership.
Voluntold, yeah.
But it was good to voluntold you into the leadership group, mate. You're always destined to be there, because for a young guy, you got your head screwed on, you're mature, and you're demonstrating that you've got a big bright future ahead of you. So it was always going to happen, mate.
Appreciate that.
100%. And the guys love having you there too. I think you can see it on weekends and all that sort of stuff, mate. You're a lot of fun to be around, and yeah, there's plenty of, I think, authentic advice and experience that comes out with the journey you've put yourself on. So really, really good job, mate. I think we're there. Anything else you want to add before we wind this one out? But if there's not, that's fine. But thanks for joining us today. We've really enjoyed hearing the journey and reliving it. There's stuff that I'm sure we've forgotten and stuff that you have too, but it's been great to reflect on it. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's been a good opportunity to reflect on some challenges and some wins, and just how far we've come. I suppose it's good. It's really good. Appreciate the opportunity.
No worries at all. Well, thanks for joining us, mate. We really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode of The Trade Den. We really appreciate Jack being here, and hopefully you've taken away a few golden nuggets from it, because everyone at some point goes on their journey to be able to transition from being a good tradie to a good owner of a trades business. And it's a journey that you have to embark on and be prepared to go on those navigate those challenges. If it's something that you're in this position and something resonated with you with Jack's story, and you're looking for some help to navigate the path that's in front of you, and you're open to the idea of getting some coaching through that space, head across to strategysession.com.au and put your details in. Looking forward to chatting to you to lay out the path for you and see if we're a good fit for each other, to see if there's something we can help you with. Until then, have a cracking week, and looking forward to speaking to you again next week on the podcast. Thanks, team.